How old is too old to become a firefighter is one of the most common questions I get on this entire channel. So in today's video, what I want to do is I want to go over some of the reasons as to why there might be age limits, what the differences are between volunteer and career departments, and what you should consider before you switch careers and think about getting into the fire service if you're a little bit older. Also, what I wanted to tell you is I've heard from so many of you that got hired late in life that didn't start in your early 20s. If that's you and you're watching this, leave your story down below. There's so many people that I hear from that think they're too old to get into firefighting that would make good candidates that decide not to get into firefighting because they think they're too old, and that's definitely not a barrier. So if that is you, please tell your story, please leave a comment below and encourage the next generation to get into the fire service despite their age, assuming that they would be a good fit and they're not too old. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to address is volunteer and part-time departments. Now, a lot of you might ask, is there an age limit to get onto a volunteer or part-time department? And generally the answer is going to be no. The reason being, as long as you're capable, physically capable of doing the job, you have some of the training, and in a lot of cases they'll pay for your training, and you would be a good fit for the department, they're interested in having you. The reason being, a lot of volunteer departments have trouble holding on to personnel, simply because people have other commitments with family, work, other things that they're doing in their lives. It's hard to get enough personnel to show up at a fire, car accident, EMS scene, whatever they're responding to. So chances are, as long as you can still do the job and you would be a good fit, they're interested in hiring you. So go to your local volunteer or part-time department, tell them how old you are, tell them what physical capabilities or trainings that you have, and see if there was a role for you at your local department. Now, career firefighting is a whole different animal. Career firefighting, generally there will be age limits. Not always. I have heard of departments that don't really have one, but it's pretty rare. Now, the age limit will vary. I've heard of some departments that do it as early as 30, and I've heard of some departments that do it late into their 40s. It just depends on your local department. So the first thing you should do is, if you're not sure, go to your local department and ask. But a lot of people wonder why there's age limits for career firefighting, but not necessarily for volunteer and part-time. Well, there's two big reasons. Number one, they obviously want to make sure that you're physically capable of doing the job. If you've never been a firefighter and you've never put on all the turnout gear and gone on air and carried a high-rise pack upstairs or pulled hose or anything like that, it is physically exhausting. It is extremely hard, dirty, difficult work. And a lot of people aren't physically capable, don't have the capacity, the strength, the endurance, whatever, to actually do the job and do it in a way that would be safe, not just for yourself, but for your crew and any potential victims you may come across. So that's the first big reason. The second big reason is because a lot of career departments pay into pension systems. And if you're unsure of how a pension system works, essentially over the course of your career, you'll pay a certain percentage out of each one of your paychecks to a pension system, usually managed at the state level. And then when you retire, usually at about 25, 30 years, depending on where you are, you get a portion, a certain percentage of however much you made year over year for a certain amount of time, usually the rest of your life. The way pension systems are generally structured, and if you want, I can do a video on this in another video, the people that come after you pay for, essentially, they continue to keep the pension fund running so that you can keep getting a check for the rest of your life. And while you're in the middle of your career paying into the pension system, you're paying for the people that came ahead of you that have already retired. So that's generally the way it works. Well, there's an age limit because they don't want people coming in late in life and only working for a few years, maybe 10 years, and then retiring and then drawing a pension for 30 years. You wouldn't have paid in nearly as much as you'll be taking out later in life. So they'll cap it at a certain age. Now, if you're not sure what your local department is or what rules are around that, just call them. They have to make that public information. Again, just reach out to them and they will let you know whatever their rules are, if they have regulations about that. Maybe you're right on the cusp. Let's say the cutoff for this particular department is 35 or 36 and you'll be 36 later that year. Can you still put in the application? Just call and ask. They're going to be helpful and they're going to want to hear from you. And you might as well save yourself the hassle before you go through all the steps of the hiring process, only to find out later that you can't. So two quick recommendations for you though, if you are considering switching careers or maybe you're a little bit later in life and you want to see if this is something you can get into. Number one, look around on this channel. This entire channel was designed to give people a realistic view of what the fire service is actually like. TV and Hollywood don't do us any favors. That's not actually what being a firefighter is like. Make sure this is something that you actually want to do and you actually want to get into. It's a lot of hard work. It is a long hiring process. There's a lot of training you're going to have to go through, and you're going to have to start out at the bottom rung of the ladder. So make sure, if you're going to put on all this time and effort, that this is something that you actually want to do by getting as much of a realistic view as possible of what it's like to be a firefighter. The second thing I would recommend is make sure you're in shape. Like I said earlier, if you've never put on a full set of gear, gone on air, and actually done these things, it is way more difficult than, again, it makes it look in the television and the movies, and it is hard work. Also, make sure that this is something that you're willing to take that kind of beating on your body for the rest of your life. It's very hard on you physically over the course of 5, 10, 20, 30 years of a career. Make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into and make sure you're physically capable of doing the job. So as always, I hope you guys found this useful. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, give this video a thumbs up, give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel. I am doing lives on this channel now. So if you do subscribe, make sure you click the notification bell so you know when I am going live, and you can jump on and ask me questions about firefighting, fitness, really anything you want to. So as always, I hope you found it helpful, and I will see you guys in the next video.